What's up, everybody? All right, I'm going to talk to you about a concept called shuffling, and this is something that I consider one of the things that separates a naive new dropshipper from an experienced dropshipper. Okay, so before I get too much into what shuffling is exactly, let me just give you some feedback on this account. So this is very much an experiment. This is just something on the side where Ale was posting items that I sold on the bulk account. So I do have an optimized store, but like I have not put much effort or work into it. There is a whole lot that needs to be done for improvement. It's just kind of something that exists and it like takes so little effort to maintain. And at this point, like my friend is doing the ordering and the customer service part. So all I did was really make the account. But now there's a lot that I need to apply to make it more profitable, right? So the main concept that I'm going to talk to you about is shuffling your items. So whenever you're creating new items, if enough time passes without the item selling, then it becomes much less likely to sell. So what you need to do is have a certain number of days where if it gets to that point and it hasn't sold, the item gets relisted, and that just gives it like another chance. And basically, all of the listings that you've ever made should be relisted every time this period passes. You shouldn't ever have something up for more than three months, pretty much. Unless it's producing sales, then it's a different story. But it's much more efficient. Imagine that you're posting 100 optimized listings a month, and you get to a point where you're like 6 months into it, and you have 600 optimized listings, right? But the first couple hundred listings that you posted at this point are 6 months old. So what you need to do is have a shuffling system. So it takes all of your listings and repost them at the same time so that they're not old anymore, right? And it's really easy to do this with DSM Tool. This account has like 1,800 items. So I'm going to, within the duration of this video, relist all of them. And so what this is going to do is it's going to mean that the entire store at the moment will have all of the items posted on a certain day instead of them being posted over a period of time. This is going to help me in the future because it's going to be easier for me to pick when the items need to be deleted and renewed because they're all at one occasion, right? That being said, it is important to have regular posts. You need to be posting items regularly. Like this account hasn't had anything posted to it in like 60 days, which is bad. You want to have regular posts, right? But that being said, it is also important to do this kind of back-end shuffling thing. So you guys can understand a little bit more about that, we're at the DSM Tool homepage, right? We're going to go to the price monitor here. And then this is going to show all of our listings. And we're going to be able to filter them based on certain criteria, such as amount sold, right? So we can see here we have about 19,000 items. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go to this column here, number of sold items. And we're going to click on it. This is going to sort everything by number of sold items. So the items that have sold are going to be at the end of the list or at the beginning of the list, depending on which order you sort it from. You can see right now it's sorted by 0. So at the very end of this list, we'll have the items that actually sold, okay? So if we click it one more time, you'll see all of these zeros will become actual numbers, or positive numbers rather. Just got to give it a second to load. Yeah, so this is sold 12 times, 10 times, etc., etc. We don't want to repost these. What we want to repost is everything that hasn't sold. And then you can see here in this days column, this item was published 4 months ago, 4 months ago, 3 months ago. Some of this stuff like 6 months ago. Some of this stuff is really old, right? So it doesn't make sense for me to still have the listing up at that point. You have to delete the listing and repost it. And DSM Tool makes this really easy, okay? So the one thing we're going to do before we move forward is make sure that our price monitor shows 500 rows at once, because this is going to enable us to work with more of them, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to open up a new window here. And now I'm going to open page 2, 3, and 4 in different tabs. and each page shows 500 rows. So what we're going to do is delete and repost every single item in our store that has not produced a sale. Okay, and then what we're going to see is how this affects our sales, because in the immediate moment, it will decrease our sales for a couple days. But because we just effectively posted almost 2,000 brand new optimized listings, then it's going to increase the rate of sales for the account. And that is the distinction that I'm talking about. What kind of makes the difference between like a new dropshipper and an experienced dropshipper is that you have to understand that once you've created this database of listings, even if they're old, they still have value because you've already put the time, effort, and attention into optimizing the titles and doing all of that, right? So you want to make sure that you're reusing the work that you've already made instead of only making new listings. Really, you should be doing both. You should be making new listings and then also shuffling the items that haven't sold. And I'm doing, like, some of these items have been up for 3, 4, 5 months, right? But this is actually something that you should be doing every 30 or 60 days. Depending on the kind of store you run, it might make more sense to do it after 30 or 60 or maybe even 90. But if you do not have this process in your store, then you are not as profitable as you could be. You should be relisting items that did not get attention and did not produce sales, because the way eBay works, posting the same listing on a different occasion, maybe you think that it's going to get the same results, but that isn't the case. What you'll find is that you can repost the same listing multiple times, and then sometimes you just get lucky and it gets attention and gets sales, and then it resells, right? Because anytime it gets one sale, it's pushed further up into search results. So that builds some momentum. And how most like really profitable dropshippers earn their money is by getting these individual items to build up tons of momentum so that they're selling every single day, right? So now that we've done this, we have all of these loaded. Right? Now what we're going to do is select everything here, and we want to make sure that these are all items that haven't sold. So it should be zeros across the board, right? So now what we do is we click on delete, and then we click end listing and relist immediately. This is an incredibly valuable feature that I think is really, really great. And so not all software allows you to do this, but you usually can accomplish it with different software, but it may not be as easy as just selecting everything and clicking a button. So now we're going to do the same thing for the next of these items. And now we're going to do it for the third page. Okay, so now I selected everything on the last page, but because some of these listings will have produced sales, we need to go to the bottom of the list here and then uncheck all of the items that did produce sales, right? So we're going to uncheck all of these. And this is just a little bit of manual work. Almost done. It's funny to be checking off items individually because I'm like, the bulk store has gotten to a scaling point where I don't ever I don't ever do things individually unless it's deleting an item. That's the only thing I do individually. Bum, bum, bum. Almost there. Sorry, I know this part's kind of tedious. The rest of it, I love it when you can select all of the boxes. We're actually going to go from the 0 point down. There we go. And so keep in mind that I'm actually spending money by doing this because all of these listings were created like day by day, right? So they all renew at different points. What I'm doing is setting it up so that they all renew at the same time. I'm some of these items just got posted like a week ago, and I'm taking them down and relisting them. So I am spending like $100 by reposting everything, because a lot of this stuff I've already paid for. Obviously, if I paid for it like 28 days ago, it doesn't really matter that I'm reposting it now, because I only lose 3 days. But it's just something to keep in mind, right? And I believe that the long-term benefits are better from like knowing when all of your old listings are reposting, and you can pick whether that happens or not based on the date. It's just easier if it all happens on one day. And then normally, obviously, you would be continuously reposting or posting new items as this is happening. And so then once your new items get old enough, then they just get added to the pool of all items that haven't sold and have been posted for more than 30 days that gets reshuffled on a specific day, right? It's one of those things that costs a little bit of money up front to do, but in the long run, it's going to increase your profitability. That's really, really where a lot of money comes from, understanding how to monetize the work that you've already done in the past and reuse it, instead of letting that work become stagnant. Because once you have a store that's 2,000 or 3,000 optimized items, regardless of how old they are, that's valuable. And you can do things to get those items to sell, even if you're not necessarily posting too much anymore, right? Okay, so now at this point, we have ended and relisted our entire store. So this is going to kill sales for a day or two, but then theoretically we should have more regular sales. And I also need to be posting items to this account more regularly. That's something I'll probably have happen. I'm not really sure, because I just haven't been focusing on it. It's really just kind of like an experimental thing, right? All right, guys, thanks for watching. And if you want any other videos about DSM Tool or anything else, let me know. Again, this is a concept that is really important for you to understand, specifically if you are new into dropshipping. This idea of reusing the listings that you've already created in the past instead of just making new listings is really, really important. It's going to help you a lot to become a more profitable dropshipper. All right, guys, see you next time. Ciao.